Hackers of Reddit. What are some cool, scary things about our technology that aren't necessarily public knowledge? Almost all industry computers, think controllers for huge factories, power plants, water reclamation, distance heating, etc., have well-known default passwords or even hard-coded admin accounts. Back in the day, this was not a huge problem because you would run them on private networks with no connection to the internet. Nowadays, the internet is available everywhere and much cheaper than private networks, so many of these industry computers are now reachable from the internet. People that know what they are doing would only make them accessible over a VPN, but there is a very large number of people that shouldn't be allowed anywhere near a keyboard. The fact that wind turbines and power stations are publicly accessible. You can have the strongest IT system in the world. You can spend billions on software and hardware protection, but if I can ring the new employee called Kathy and say, "Hey, Kathy, you're new here, right? Yeah, it's John from IT security. There's been a breach and I need size admin password quickly so I can patch it up." "Okay," says Kathy, under stress to fix the problem, and there I have it. I got the password. It's called social engineering, and 9 times out of 10 that's how people hack accounts. Those browser warnings about untrusted SSL certificates that everyone automatically bypasses could be an indicator that you're a victim of a man-in-the-middle attack. In other words, your data is being routed through an attacker's system, possibly through an ARP or DNS spoofing attack. By bypassing the warning messages, you have, possibly, just agreed to trust an attacker's SPIPLIed, self-signed SSL certificate. This isn't the case 100% of the time, but a reason to pause and scrutinize the warning. Nearly every single Comcast router I've ever tested is vulnerable to a WPS, Wi-Fi protected setup, authorization bypass vulnerability. Disable WPS to protect yourself against it. i.e. any can join your WPA2 protected Wi-Fi network in 10 hours or less with zero knowledge of your passphrase. Many office buildings have secure areas that require an ID badge for ingress access. However, when exiting said secure area, a proximity sensor detects the presence of a person on the secure side and unlocks the door without requiring an ID badge. It's possible to abuse the behavior of the proximity sensor on the secure side of the door using a can of compressed air, effectively bypassing the need to have a valid ID badge. Hold the can of compressed air upside down, place nozzle between door cracks, aim toward the ceiling, toward the location of the proximity sensor on opposite side of the door, pull trigger to spray. If the proximity sensor is improperly configured, the door will open as though a person was on the opposite side exiting the secure area. Any router using WEP is insecure. Source: using neighbor's Wi-Fi. Professional hacker here. I would say the scariest thing I run into on a daily basis is how shoddy in the security sense most of the code out there is. I deal mainly with web applications, and it's amazing some of the things the developers come up with. It might be super fast and functional, but horrible security-wise. The number of big development firms that have no security cycle or CAW cooked into their dev cycle is astonishing. The second is just how little understanding in the general public there is about how tech actually works, what it's doing. Everyone uses it for everything. Yet there are people out there that are in charge of commerce apps that take your financial data that don't know what a web browser is. I actually think the general population is getting more tech illiterate. As devices have become more user-friendly, the level of IT knowledge required to use them has gone down dramatically. So what we have now is the equivalent of a bunch of toddlers running around with bazookas and not knowing what makes them go boom. Most hacked account, be it Facebook, mail or other, aren't done by elite nerd typing quickly on a console, but by malicious people who have basic knowledge of computer and exploit other people's stupidity, or by gathering some information. Exempli. Lost password greater than secret question what's your favorite food? Most of the time it's pizza. The internet is built on trust. Internet, trust. Physical storage doesn't last for as long as people think. CDs and DVDs have a finite lifespan. If you have photos backed up on a disc in the attic from the 90s, they could potentially fail if you ever wanted what was on them. Same thing with USB flash drives and HDDs, a decade or two before they fail. This isn't a problem right now, but imagine a world where everything is stored digitally as opposed to hard copy, which also has a finite lifespan. Your grandkids won't have any of your pictures or files because they will all be gone. Sure, you could do online backups, but even then, how long will that service be around? How many times has a company gone out of business taking its media with them? To make myself clearer, of course, Google can keep RAID arrays in different locations around the world and replace failing drives. Yes, you can keep your data online, but an online backup is still stored on physical media. Where will that company be in 100 years? It's usually easier to get information from a person than a computer. All you have to do is find the right way to ask. The fact that a good number of security holes and spying methods that were around 20 years ago are still vulnerabilities and are around today. To put it in the simplest, but not 100% accurate, terms, there is little to no meaning in the word privacy when you go online. If I can find it, I'll post the link to a video that really dives into this topic. After reading through some of the comments, I would love a blank slate for my online presence, back to square one and start anew with all the knowledge I've acquired over the years online. I know my tardiness in respects to protecting myself is going to bite me back one day. I've been doing computer security for 10 years and IT for 20. About 40% of the IT infrastructure attached to the internet is unmanaged. Meaning that either nobody is taking care of it, or whoever is supposed to doesn't actually understand how. There is a TEDx talk of a hacker showing you what he can do quite easily. I am a grad student studying cybersecurity. Scary. 1. People have hacked cars and most other forms of transportation. These hacks have included the ability to stop your brakes from working and moving your steering wheel. While the knowledge is currently held by a small group of people, it never stays that way, and I predict that murder by hacking trolls will be old news before 2020. 2. If the GPS system were to ever fail, just like GLONASS did, the economic damage would easily be in the hundreds of billions, as financial institutions depend on GPS for timing. Note that this technology was developed 19 years ago based on a 41-year-old theory. One mis-programmed counter could bring it all down if it wasn't caught. 3. While bug bounty programs are a step in the right direction, from an economic perspective it is orders of magnitude more profitable to sell a zero-day vulnerability on the black market than it is to sell to a company. This means that most software zero-days are being sold and hoarded instead of patched. In practical terms, this means that almost all of the software you use is vulnerable. 5. Taking all of those things together gets us the scariest part of the picture. In the next decade, I predict that there will be a cyber war or a terrorist attack over the internet. People will die and the economic damage will be equal to, if not greater than, a bombing of a major city. This will provoke a backlash that will fundamentally rewrite the way that we interact with our computers. I cannot even hazard a guess as to what direction that will take, but if Computer Fraud and Abuse Act is anything to go by, it will not be pretty. The scary part of the computer security world is not China, Russia, or any other type of advanced persistent threat. Not Anonymous, or some disparate group of computer hackers. The number one threat to computer security is people. Social engineering is still the best way to get into almost any system. It cannot be patched. The amount of people who will still run Excel report not a virus.x is mind-boggling. Most intrusions are done through malicious emails or malware preloaded onto a USB stick that someone dropped somewhere. All that stuff that Edward Snowden has leaked. Most IT people have known about it for years. It's just that nobody believed us. Not sure if this applies, but here's a fun fact. If you pay for a UPS COD package anywhere in the US, your payment goes to an unmarked building in Columbia, South Carolina for processing. There used to be 3 places, but they consolidated them into the one. Source. Used to work there. I am a computer scientist with security knowledge, so I am not a hacker per se. There is a decent chance that the US government will break modern encryption as we know it in the next decade. Currently, the government, namely the CIA and NSA, are some of the largest employers of mathematicians. The NSA has one of the largest data centers ever built by man. It is speculated that they are nearing a breakthrough and are getting ready to use it. Modern encryption is based on the fact it is really hard to find the prime factors of a number in a recessional amount of time, but extremely easy to make a large number with prime factors. If a way is found to quickly find prime factors, the whole system is. Quantum computers will do this if they turn out to be possible. Perhaps they are banking on that, or perhaps they found some other way. Honestly, this scares the out of me more than anything else. Given their data capacity, they are probably already storing all the encrypted data they can find and waiting for the day they can decrypt it.